Okay, so for the opening, what we want to try to do is get our pieces out and castle and control the center. Usually, if you follow these rules, your opening will be solid. So here, you really have more than one good option. First of all, what's the threat?
The threat is actually like he would like take me, but I can take him back with the queen.
Right, so you could do that.
But that won't help in the development. So
Right, usually you don't want to bring your queen out early. So
maybe
what's
just push the knight. Bloom. The knight will protect him and he would get developed. Like,
sure, go for it.
alright. So now I can take him with the knight. But someone says moving the like a knight or something 2 times in a row in the opening is not good. So maybe I take it with the queen. The queen would be in the opening. What do you say?
So moving the same piece in the opening twice is not best, but for captures it's different because otherwise you lose a pawn. Black also just moved their pawn twice, so it's not so bad.
Okay.
Main thing is every turn you want to ask yourself what's the threat, and specifically for the opening, you want to get your pieces out and castle as soon as you can. So what do you think should be
Okay.
the move now?
So I'll just take it whatever. And we can just push the pawns later.
Okay. What are we thinking
Uh,
now?
I think I should develop the bishop.
Which bishop? Well,
This one, the
you
one,
only have
the
one bishop.
C
Where do you want to move it to?
on E3.
So e3 is not good because you block your e pawn, which blocks your
So
other
maybe
bishop,
move the
and it makes it
pawn
harder
and
to
open
cancel.
the bishop. Yeah, this one is better. We open the bishop and we protect him
Right.
and
So
we
the thing
develop.
is, this is a little bit tricky, but and if by the way, if you feel like it's too much information, let me know. But I'm just going to throw things at you, and you tell me what makes sense. If you push the e pawn now, it's going to be a bit harder to bring your dark square bishop out first.
Oh,
So basically, you want to first bring the dark square bishop out, then push the e pawn, and then bring the light square bishop out. But it's fine. That doesn't have to be perfect. We'll get there.
I think we
Okay.
have to move the knight again
Okay. Where do you think we should move it?
on B3.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay. Hmm.
Okay. Any threats?
So you think developing the any threats? Okay, I don't see that. I don't know if there's any threat coming. The knight can come up here, but I can take with the queen, and they can just push a pawn right now. I don't see much.
You don't see any threat.
I
Okay.
would just,
So if you see no threats, the next step is how do we continue the opening? You want to get pieces out, control the center, and castle.
I would push this pawn on C3.
Okay. Why?
Because just because.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Professor Axis said that we should like develop the bishop so we can castle. That's a great idea.
Yep. That's a good idea.
So where do I put it? Um, Up here on D3, but it would block the queen. So maybe on the knight,
So
C4.
c4 is fine. One thing I want to point out, because it's a common idea that happens, even though in this case it's fine, is if you go bishop b5, black has queen a5 check, which attacks the bishop on b5 and also the king. Right? Do you see that move?
Oh,
So
yeah, 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 yeah.
in this case, it's fine because you happen to have a knight on b3, which guards a5. So queen a5 would just hang a queen.
Queen a5 would just hang the queen. Okay, maybe I'm just new. Okay, where should I have actually put this then?
Wait, wait. I just want to show you an idea that I think is good to know. Bishop b5. Black would have this idea of queen a5 check, which attacks the bishop and
Okay,
attacks the king, right? Now, in this case, you have a knight on b3, which guards a5, and
okay,
many times you'll also have a move knight c3, blocking the check
okay.
and also protecting the bishop on b5. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay. It's just before developing pieces, it's always good to look at checks because they might be able to just capture your piece with a fork, so on. But yeah, go ahead. You could develop bishop. c4 is fine,
well,
b5 is fine.
c4 is fine, b5 is fine. I think I would just put it up here. qa5.
Excellent. Actually, b5, which is what you chose, is even better than c4 because in this case, black would have d5, pawn
I cho-
d5.
I chose it first, but then you said a lot of things, so I thought maybe this was fine.
Oh, I wasn't saying it's a bad move. I'm just showing you different ideas, which I think will help you in your games. But
All
no
right,
worries.
now it's a bad thing because he's gonna push anyways.
Right. So you could have taken the knight, but it's not. It's not so bad. It's fine. Bishops can move back and forth. You know, not
I
the
don't
end.
take many pieces early in the opening. You think I should just put my bishop up? You know he's gonna take. Maybe we should just castle.
Sure, castling is fine.
And I think I would like to develop my knight now. Knight would be awesome.
Sure,
Putting it on c3.
sure, that's fine. Okay. Which
Okay,
piece
now
did we not develop yet?
the bishop, the bishop.
Mm-hmm. Where can we put it, or what should we do before moving it?
Push the pawn, push the pawn.
Yep.
This one. Look. Now we are under attack.
Excellent.
So I would just take it. Oh, maybe what if we put it up here on d5? Because we have pressure 1, pressure 2, pressure 3. Three defenders. But he have only one.
Sure.
All right. And I can now take the knight.
Right. By the way,
Yeah.
it might be a bit tricky at
Yeah,
first
political.
to get used to it. Um, but when you say here, here, and here, I can't see what you mean. So you got to say the coordinates, but it's fine. Sometimes I'll be able to guess. And either way, it's not a huge deal. But you can always practice coordinates later, and it's easier because I can't see where you're pointing. I'm watching a game live on Chess.com.
Okay, okay. Okay, let him make the move. Then maybe I can try using the coordinates. Actually, when you just said that there's an A5, B5, this, I wasn't able to understand a thing. But
You think when I was saying coordinates, you weren't able to follow along?
nah, maybe a little bit.
Okay, that's fine. So it's definitely useful to learn coordinates. I can show you later how to practice them. It's definitely helpful for studying, collaborating, etc.
Okay. So
Okay.
Professor Axel says, unfortunately, you lost three tempos in the opening. Three tempo is equal to pawn, some say. Oh, we lost three pawns? No, we lost only.
Yeah, we did move the bishop a few times. There was an option to capture the knight at some point with the bishop instead of moving it back, but not the biggest deal, at least for now.
What do you say we attack the knight? Because this knight protects the pawn on h7, which we have to remove. Because this is usually my way to get rid of him so I can actually just use it to checkmate some point of the game.
So attacking the knight is good. You're saying to attack the knight on f6 so that h7 is not as protected.
Yeah, yeah.
That's an idea, sure. Main thing is to get the bishop out so that you develop all your pieces.
Okay. So we are developed.
Excellent. Yeah.
So let's see what he does. Let's plan something till then. Oh, no planning no more. Oh, what do you think? I should take it with the knight. I should
Okay.
take it with the pawn on e4, or I should take it with the queen on d1.
So excellent question. So here there's a few things going on.
Hmm.
So first of all, he just captured a piece, right? So we're down a piece. Here there is actually 3 captures that we have available. The question is, which one is going to help us in the long run?
Oh wait,
So,
first let me know which 3 captures. There's the knight,
uh-huh,
and there's also a bishop which is under attack that we can capture, but
uh-huh.
that would be a trade.
Actually, there's 4 captures now that I look at it. Let's find all 4.
Oh, there are 4 captures. One is the bishop on d7. The other one is the knight on d5.
Well, the knight on
And wait,
d5, the knight on d5, you're capturing with what?
I think capturing it with the knight would be cool
That'll be cool. Okay. What else can you capture with?
because I
Oh yeah,
can
because
capture it with the pawn. I can capture it with the pawn, obviously.
okay. So now the difference is, if you capture with the knight, then he captures your bishop, and you're down a piece.
Yeah.
If you capture his bishop now with your bishop,
Oh, no, 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 wait. If I take him with the pawn and he captures the bishop, I can use him to take the other knight. Use
excellent,
the. Oh,
excellent
yeah.
find. And another thing that's good to know is that if you play bishop takes e7 now, he can
Hmm,
capture that bishop back with his knight instead of with his queen, which means he's going to save the knight and once again be up a piece because he just captured the piece of yours. So taking back with the pawn here is actually very important.
okay.
Well spotted.
Yes, political, you're right.
Okay. Always double check for
Okay,
threats.
I have an idea. I have an idea. I can actually fork the bishop and the pawn up here on d6. The bishop on g5 and the pawn on d6. I can actually fork with my knight on c3.
Okay, so um, what?
And when he's gone, I can use my knight on b3 to actually put it on c5 so it can attack the bishop.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what could you capture right now?
I can capture some. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the knight.
Okay.
Sorry, that was dumb.
Also, a fork is when you have 2 threats. Knight e4 wasn't a threat because the bishop on g5 was defended, and the bishop on and the pawn on d6 was also defended. So you weren't actually threatening to win material.
Okay, got it.
Okay, now question number 1: do you see any threats?
I don't see any threats, to be honest. Oh, yeah, there's a bishop. The bishop on c6 is actually attacking my pawn on g2. And if he does, I take him with the king. But that would be a total weird thing because I know the king will be exposed.
Right, so that's not a huge threat. It's good to spot that you can capture that. That's definitely good to do. Um, so
We
now that
can push
we
up the pawn. We
which
can
pawn?
push up the pawn on f2, f3.
So you could usually, unless you have a reason to, you don't want to just push pawns in front of your king,
Oh,
especially with 2 bishops on the board because the 2 bishops can easily attack your king.
okay.
Also, bishop takes g2 is not really a threat now, because if he does that, then your king can take, and there isn't that much of a attack right now.
So I've been wrong all my life.
What?
I've been doing everything wrong all my life.
No, f3 is not a bad move. It just means that, let's say bishop e3 check becomes a thing. Every time you move a pawn, it loses control of some squares, and pawns cannot move backwards. So you want to be careful when you move pawns, especially in front of your king.
Okay, so what's the best move here? I don't
Okay,
find any, to be honest.
right. So here, first of all, is there any threats? And so far, it seems like the answer is no.
Mm.
Right. So the next step is trying to improve our pieces, put our pieces on better squares. Which of our pieces do you think could find a square where he's going to be happier? Which of our pieces right now is crying, saying, "Hey, I want to be part of the game"?
Uh, he wants to be a part of the game because if the knight on b3 actually moves to like a5, he's dead. If he moves to c5, he's dead. If he moves to d4, he's dead. So he's crying absolutely.
So when you say he, you're talking about what? The knight on b3? Hello, Juice.
Yes, yes, I'm talking about the knight.
Okay. So we could try to find a better square for the knight. Usually, you will first want to bring pieces that never moved before into the game.
Oh, you mean the pawns? The pawns are not moved. Oh, the rooks are not moved too.
Yep, the rooks have never moved. Where do you think the rooks should be? If you could take both rooks and drop them anywhere on the board, where would you like them to be?
I think I can put the a rook a1 on c1.
Why?
No, 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 no. Get it. Oh, he would die.
Yeah, he would die. It's good that you spotted that. That's excellent. So where
Uh,
do we want our rooks? Usually rooks want to be on open files. You
the
want
other
rooks
rook can be on e1, e1, e1.
e1, and where? Where would you put the other rook?
There's only one way. e1.
Right, you could put one rook on e1. Where would you want your other rook to be?
But he's like still locked. Why think about it?
Sorry, what?
I don't think there's anywhere I want him to be right now. I can't think of any place.
Okay. So another square could be d1, right? Rooks on e1 and d1 would be nice.
Oh, but on d1 there's a queen. Oh,
Correct.
because they both are open. Oh, that's why.
Correct. And there is a queen
Uh,
on d1, but the good news is that the queen is yours, so you can actually move her.
oh yeah.
Just make sure before you move her somewhere, ask yourself, is that safe?
Okay, okay.
You can also go rook e1 right away. Yeah, they're both fine.
Blue.
I love your bloop.
Aware. Okay, I'll be aware. He's thinking. Also, whoever is watching me right now and Danny, please know that we are doing it for the first time. If you like, you can just comment that you love it and that we have to do it again. Then we can do it again.
And make sure to follow both of us.
And make sure to follow both of us. That's very important because you guys watch and go away. That's not good thing. Where are your manners? Okay, the queen is in the game. We have to be aware. The queen is actually threatening the pawn on f2. Oh no, no,
Excellent.
she is not. She is, but she will die, so she won't.
Right.
And there's absolutely a bishop on g5, which can assist her in a checkmate if we are not aware. And also the bishop on c6.
Excellent. Yeah.
He's
So
a menace.
the bishops are a little bit scary. Do you see a way to trade one of your knights for one of the bishops? It's usually considered a good thing if you could do that.
Oh yeah, I found it. We will fork. We will use the knight on c3 and try to fork the queen and the bishop on f6 and g5 simultaneously. And then the bishop on c6 will take the knight and we can just boom with the rook.
Excellent.
You were absolutely right about the rook. Wow. Look,
Excellent find.
the problem is the pawns are marching. Oh, thank you for telling me, Caliber. Knight e4. Yep. Why does it freezes when I'm absolutely not looking good? Okay, guys, since there's so many viewers, let me know. I don't have a much good, better camera, so I'm saving up for it. Maybe you guys can actually chip in. Anything would work. We had one chipper today, and I'm so happy for her or him. What's the name? Thank you so much, whoever it was. Okay, Danny, I see a threat. He
What's the
didn't
threat?
take he didn't take the knight, and there's a queen on g5, and I know what she's trying to do. She will remove the knight on g5, and then will like try to like be here and checkmate.
So the threat is if the knight moves out of the way, what is the queen? What is the queen looking at?
The queen is looking at the g2 pawn.
Excellent. Well spotted.
Oh, now she's also looking at the whoa knight on e4 because the bishop takes the knight. My rook on e1 takes the bishop on e4, and then the queen will take the rook.
Yep. Excellent. So what do you think we could do now? What options do you see?
We can push the pawn off from f2 to f3.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
that's it.
that's fine. What else do you see?
Mm,
I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad choice. Just seeing what other options we would have here.
I can use my knight on e4 and put it on g3.
Okay. Yeah, that's also a nice idea. What else? There's one more option I
There's
want you
some.
to find, and I guess the question is if you see it as a safe option or as a threat.
Oh, I found it. No, 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 that's a bad idea though. We can put the knight on b3 on d2. What about that?
B3 to D2.
b3 to
Oh,
d2.
to defend the
Knight
knight on
d2
E4.
basically. Yeah, knight for knight.
Okay. So that's a little bit risky because he could take that knight on D2 with his bishop, and then if you take back with your knight, Queen G2 is checkmate.
Holy moly.
So
Sheesh.
basically, someone in my chat is suggesting Queen takes D6. The reason Queen takes D6 does not work is because Black can do what I call for my students a boomerang. If Queen D6, Black can go Bishop takes E4, and the Queen on
Okay.
G6 is defended, and the Bishop on E4 is defended. If Rook takes on E4, the Queen can take on E4. So unfortunately, that wouldn't work. Otherwise, it would be a nice idea. Knight d6 might be a thing, but it looks very dangerous, so I wouldn't recommend going into that if you don't have to. So
Okay.
one option you looked at was knight g3, and one option was pawn f3. Another option which I
Yes,
wanted to
yes.
have in mind is knight takes g5, as crazy as it looks, because you get rid of one of
Oh,
the attackers, and then after queen takes g5, which is obviously going to be his move, then he's threatening checkmate. So the question is, before you play knight takes g5, what would you do after knight g5, queen g5?
okay. Knight g5, queen g5. I would, I guess, push my pawn on, I think g3, g3, yeah.
Okay, so g3 does stop the immediate mating threat. The issue is then all three of the pawns in front of the king are on dark squares. which means that all the light squares are not protected at all by the pawns. So f3, g4, h3 are not protected by the
Oh,
ng2 are not protected by the pawns at all, which makes it very easy for black to use his bishop and queen to checkmate you.
oh, I have a plan. I have a plan. Let's say the knight takes the bishop, the queen takes the knight, and we can use the. What about rook e3?
So knight g5, queen g5, rook e3,
Huh.
queen g2 is checkmate.
Oh yeah, Amsterdam.
So I think your idea is rook e3 and then let's say rook g3, but it will take an extra move,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that move would be enough to checkmate. So basically, what I want to show you is that your idea of f3 is good, but if you can here, you'd rather get rid of that bishop first, because then f3 weakens the dark squares a little bit, but black won't have a dark square bishop anymore. So it's not as big of a deal. Does that make sense?
Let's kill him first. Die, die. Yeah, it's absolutely happened the way.
Okay, so now g3 would weaken the light squares. f3 is the move that you wanted to play before. The only thing is before, f3 wasn't as good because black had a dark square bishop, so opening up dark squares around the king wasn't as good.
Oh,
Now that black has no dark square, f3 is actually not as bad. And another
look.
thing to keep in mind is the queen pins the pawn on g2. So the pawn on f3 is only safe because of your queen. If the bishop takes on f3, you cannot take it with your pawn.
Oh yeah.
So you have a queen on
Yes.
e1, d1. That's very important.
Mhm. What about using the knight to protect the pawn on f3? So we can move the queen around.
You could try that. Sure.
We
You
can
could try.
play knight d2.
Sure. You could play knight d2. You could also put it on e4 after to block the bishop and attack the queen. You could try to attack the pawns in the center. As long as every turn you ask yourself what the threat is, then you don't just get checkmated or lose material. Then you're fine.
Oh, now we have a rook in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not an open file. I think we should have been on the C file because it's open. He made a mistake,
So
I think.
right, so it's not so simple. Basically, if you have a file that's completely open, rooks are happy there, like a file with no pawns at all. But if a file has only a pawn of one color and not the other, then it's often a good idea to put a rook there. So, for example, your rook on, let's say, this is there's no okay. Let's say you play rook c1 now, for example. You don't have to, but let's just say you would play rook c1 here. Then the c pawn can try to just go and run because it has a rook behind it protecting it to help it push. So here the rook on d8 is protecting the d pawn, which helps it
Oh.
run as well. So it's not necessarily a bad move. You can also try to bring your own rooks on the open files if you can, but just make sure you don't get checkmated or lose the f pawn in the process.
Mhm. I think what about queen d3?
You said queen d3.
Uh, so I can bring my other rook on d5. And it will also like protect the f3 pawn.
So that's fine. There's a similar
Yeah.
idea which I was thinking of, which is probably what I would play, which is queen e2. That still protects f3, and it also gets your queen out of the line of the rook. In general, you don't want to have your queen on the line of a rook like that, because the moment that pawn moves out of the
Oh,
way, your queen could get attacked.
okay.
And if you can, you want to get rid of the queens, trade queens, because your king is feeling some pressure. In general, the way you decide if to trade queens or not is you ask yourself, whose king is safer? If your king
Hmm.
is safer, you want the queens to stay in the game. If your king is less safe, you want the queens off.
Okay. So he has another rook in the game and he's also protecting the pawn. So we
Mm-hmm.
can take either of them.
Right. So what plans were we
The
trying
rook.
to do before?
The
Mm-hmm.
rook. Need
Yep.
the rook in the game.
Yep.
Vortex is giving me so much time and he doesn't have much now for himself.
Right.
Oh, we can use the knight now.
Okay. Where do you want to bring the knight?
What about? Oh, what about a5? Knight a5, attacking the bishop.
You could try that. What do you think he's gonna play if you do that?
If I do that, he's gonna move, but he can't. Okay, he can go back just a block because most of the things are blocked. But he won't go to bishop b7 because I can still get him. So he will move to a8 or d7.
Okay. Which one do you think is better?
For him, I think d7 because he can still like have a full diagonal for himself and he can anytime literally attack my king.
Okay. So, um, what's funny is here both moves are not great for him because bishop a8 puts the bishop in a corner, which usually is not a good idea. Even though in this case it might
Mm.
not be a huge deal. Bishop d7 actually loses a pawn.
Oh, because I can just take the pawn if he blocks the rook.
Right.
That was genius.
The thing you would have to be careful with then, if you take that pawn, is look for discovered attacks. Look at where the bishop can move, because anywhere the bishop moves, it's also going to be opening up his rook's attack on your rook on d5.
Okay, let's say we play rook d5. Okay, then he moves the bishop away, and we can just take the other rook on d8. But he won't do that because he doesn't want to lose the rook.
Right, so what I mean is it's good to keep in mind that the bishop can move and your rook will be under attack, because for example, he could go bishop h3 in that position. And then
Oh,
if, in this case, you have a queen protecting g2, but otherwise your rook on d5 would be attacked, and then he would also be threatening checkmate on g2. So you do have to be careful with that.
okay, okay. So should I play the knight?
So knight a5 is fine. Another idea which I was thinking of here, since his pawns are
Mm,
marching on the board, is maybe to play
mm.
pawn c3, just to make it a bit harder for him to play to push his pawns. You have a pawn on f3, which guards e4, and you can put a pawn on c3 to guard d4. So
Okay.
that's an idea. And also knight a5 is also a fine idea. And if you can, you want to trade queens and so on.
Mhm. Okay, vertex, you're taking some time, all right. Okay, what about the same move? Now if he like moves it. Oh, the same move. I think the knight move will be fine. Oh, no, 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 no. Now the rook can actually move to rook g6 and can empower the queen and she can checkmate.
Hello, Sammy. Yeah, so rook g6 is well spotted. You still have a queen on e2, which defends g2.
Oh, yeah.
But if you can, since your king is feeling some pressure for some time, if you can, you could try to trade queens.
All right. So we only have to like attack the queen, pretend to attack. So Danny, what do I actually move? Like trade queen? I think the knight move is fine.
You could try the knight move, go
But
for
the
it.
knight would be trade. I don't want the knight to die. Let's see. Oh, this one. Now we can like try to trade the queens.
You could try to trade queens, yeah, that's fine. Just make sure you ask yourself what the threat is every move. In this case, bishop back to the
Ah,
corner doesn't really change so much. but you do want to, ask yourself every move.
Yeah, so queen d2. Horse on the rim can be a dim.
Yeah, so knight a5 is not a top move because after the bishop goes to a8, the knight isn't really doing so much, even though honestly right now the bishop isn't doing so much either, for now. So if you can, you would want to bring the knight into the game more on the king side, which will take a bunch of moves, but it's a thing, it's an option. We call it rerouting. And you could also
Okay,
try
come
to
back.
oh, and you could also try to trade queens. That's also fine.
The bishop is going to be 5. This is not a good news, right?
I mean, it's not really very scary. The question is, what was your plan? What were we trying to do?
Trading the queens.
Hmm.
If he comes, I kill him with the knight. Oh, he's not trading the queens.
Right. So here you're down a pawn. So in theory, a draw is nice for you, but you don't have to go for a draw right away. But you could try to trade queens again.
Kill my queen, kill my queen. Kill my queen, what else?
Oh, this might get fun. Maybe if you have the button to do so, maybe you can give your opponent time so that he can continue playing and not flag.
Where can I do this? How to send time? How to send time? Give him 15 seconds. Give him 15 seconds.
Yeah, you
Give
just
him,
did
give
it.
him, give him.
Yeah, you could give him more.
Look!
You could give him more time if you want. He gave you a lot as well.
In general, you don't want to trade down material. Caliber says.
Right. So trading when the material in general is not good, but here your king was under a lot of pressure. So getting the queens off, I think, is justified. But yeah, you don't want to just trade off everything. Although one pawn is not exactly,
What?
a huge amount of material.
What about playing knight c5 so I can try to scare the rook away on e6?
Um, you could try that. What one? Okay, that's an interesting move. What do you think we could do now?
Okay, let's take the pawn. If he takes me back with pawn d4, I can take the rook. But that would be a trade since he can use the pawn f7.
Okay, so you could try to count what's going to happen. You could try to count, the captures and see who's getting what.
Maybe still let's go for knight c5. Scare him, scare him.
So, okay, you could do that. I don't want to. I don't want to like. What's the word? Like I basically, my goal is to teach you more how to think, not so much to give you move by move, because that's not going to help you so much when you play on your own. So knight c5 does attack the rook, but you could just move it. The question is, where is he moving it to, and what could you do after? So
Maybe just take it with the pawn.
you could try that.
If he
Um,
moves, we are trading the rooks. And if it doesn't, I can just use the pawn to protect or defend my. Uh, I think I should have to take care of myself now because if I take the pawn with the knight, the rook is gonna play rook e1.
Mhm.
and take me. And this would give a check, and I cannot take him. So maybe I should get closer to my rook and play king f2. What do you say?
You could do that. What else could you do to try to win the pawn on d4?
Take it with the rook, and the rook on d8 would be threatened, so he won't take it because I can take him back. So
So
basically, rook d4.
so rook d4. What could he do if you if you play that move?
He can scare away the rook on d8. Oh, no, 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 no. If I do this, oh, we are back again. He can take rook e1.
Excellent, well spotted. So what do you think you should play here?
King f2.
Okay, so king f2 is not bad. The idea here is that you can actually force the win of the d pawn right away because you can take his rook first. King f2 means he could take your rook with check, and then after you take it back, he has a free move to try to do something about his pawn. It happens to be that in this
Oh,
case, he has nothing that he could do, as far as I can tell, to protect that pawn. But
so take
just
the rook.
just a good idea to have in mind is that if you capture the rook first, then you're the one who has the move after because he has to capture your rook back first. If that makes sense. But in this case, king f2 would also be fine. But, um,
Okay, so die rook. Wow, that was fast. And bloom. This is the longest 10-minute game I've ever played. Thank you,
yeah.
Vortex.
Okay, so here we are fully into the endgame stage. A few things to do in an endgame, even though this could really be a lesson of its own, but that's fine. So number one is you want to look for weaknesses. Weaknesses are pieces which, or pawns usually, which are not cannot be defended by other pawns, and so they have to be defended by other pieces. And
Like
you want to
e6.
like e6, yes, exactly. So black, both white and black have some weaknesses going on over here. Another thing you want to do is you want to get your king in the game as soon as you can, like somewhere in the middle of the board. And
So
specifically in this case,
F,
and specifically in this case, because you have a bishop versus knight endgame, there's some more stuff to keep in mind. One of them is that you want to put your pawns on the color that the bishop doesn't see, but that applies more if the rooks are traded. Because before the rooks are traded, your pawns could be captured in any color. It doesn't really matter so much. So here you want to get your king in the center, and you want to try to attack his weak pawns and not let him attack your weak pawns. If that makes sense.
so what about playing f2? King f2. He will be close to my rook soon.
So you could play king f2. Do you see what move he could play after that?
He can just give me a check. Rook c2.
Uh-huh. And what does
And
that?
then I can move on king e3. And then he won't follow me. Because if he follows me on second rank, I can just take him. And if he follows me on c3, he will die.
Okay, so king f2, rook c2 check. What does the rook attack besides for the king?
He can literally give a check if the black rook moves.
Um, Say that again.
If the black rook moves, my white rook can give a check to the black king. And if when the king moves, I can take the bishop.
Okay, excellent spot. Um, you also want to keep in mind that that's a good move to find. You also want to keep in mind what his rook sees. Let's say you go king f2, rook c2 check, and you move your king. You also want to keep in mind what his rook sees.
His rook, his rook is checking for a check. That's it. I think.
Maybe I'm confusing it. So just to be clear, let's say king f2, rook c2 check. Let's say you go king e3. He could attack some of your pawns. He could take a pawn on b2. He could take a pawn on g2. Now, in this case, as you mentioned, that's fine.
Oh,
In this
Yeah,
case,
yeah, I get it.
right.
He can take the pawns.
Right. In this case, as you mentioned, that's fine because if he does take one of those pawns, you then have rook check winning a bishop. But it's
Oh,
just it's just good to keep in mind what the rook is going to be attacking. So
okay, okay, I
with that in
get it.
mind,
Very much.
go for it.
Okay, let's go for the move. Oh, he moved the king.
Okay.
Getting closer to the rook would help, so I'm playing this. Uh-oh, I'm under attack.
Yep. So that's a good move by him. He's attacking the knight. He's threatening to double
We
your
can give a
pawns.
check. We can give a check. Rook f4.
Sure.
After this, we can just do knight d4. Keep them all close.
Right. So here you could see actually why once you have a bishop against a knight, you want to have your pawns on the color that the bishop does not see, because now he's threatening your knight, and if you move the knight, he's also seeing your pawn on a2. So if the pawns were all on dark squares, that would help. But it's fine. We're learning. Um, Also here, knight
Knight
c1
d.
would defend the pawn on a2, except right now knight c1 loses the knight because the rook is on the c file.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, here basically what you could try to do, being that you're probably going to lose the a pawn, or you could leave the knight there and double your pawns, but I don't know if that's good, is you could try to get your own counterplay going. You want to try to attack his pawns as he takes yours. As he attacks your pawns, you could try to attack his pawns, basically.
Oh, so we can no. So the two spots we can actually move to is knight d2 or knight d4. Knight d2 does absolutely nothing, I guess. We can
Okay,
try knight d4,
sure.
attacking the pawn somehow. I'm sorry, Vortex, you have to go through this, but I'm very, very much what do you call it? I very much appreciate this. Okay, so what do you say we go for? No, no, no. What do you say we do right now? Maybe move the king e4.
King e4. You could try that. There is one move that I would like you to spot for black. If you were playing with black here, what would you play? What's a move that might look like trouble for white?
Rook d8.
Okay. Do you see
No,
a
no, no.
fork for black?
For black.
Yeah.
No,
Okay. Do you see a move black can play which attacks two pieces?
black can play. I don't know. I don't see anything right now.
Okay. It's a pawn move. What is a
Oh,
pawn
pawn
move
move.
black can play which attacks two things?
Black can play a pawn that attacks two things.
Just me? Yeah, that is right. What was that, Athena?
Oh, e6 to e5, e5.
Yep. Yep. That's an idea. Now
Ah,
you do have a response there if he does play that move. but it's it's good to spot that such a move can happen. Another threat, which someone in my chat is pointing out as well, is that right now your rook doesn't have so many squares to move to, and so if you
Mhm.
tax it with a pawn, for example, g5, then your rook is almost out of squares completely.
Oh,
So there's okay. I don't want to overwhelm you with information, so I'm not sure how much in depth to go here. Um, but there's two things you could try
so
to do.
basically,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
move the rook.
Well, you can move the rook, but where to?
Rook e4.
Sure, you could try that. There's a lot of threats going on. It's a bit tricky to. I don't want to overwhelm you with information. Basically, the problem is. I mean, the problem. The rook e4. He has bishop d5, which attacks the rook, so that square is not available anymore. And then once your rook moves again, he has either g5 or he has king up attacking your rook. If you go rook e5, he
Oh,
can attack it with his king, and if you go sideways, he can attack it with his pawn on g5. So I don't think it's the most helpful thing for me to just give you move by move, but I guess what you could try to do is to make space for your rook, if you can, or to control
I
squares
can.
with other pieces so that you can't attack your rook as easily. Does that make sense?
What about? I don't. I think it's like giving pieces. I think moving the king is the best choice.
Go for it.
Uh, I don't want my rook to suffer. I don't want to block him myself. Maybe move the knight so there's some space. But where to? Where to? Where to? Okay, that was unexpected. I said I moved the king and I moved the knight. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Okay, Vortex. Need some time to think. Move the king.
Well, okay. Chalk down rook e4. Yeah, it might be an idea, but the question is where to go after. Okay.
So now I can actually try pretend that I'm attacking the rook and I can get close to the black king. What do you say? Mhm.
I'm not sure which move you're suggesting.
Knight d4, knight d4.
You could try that. Do you see what he is attacking? I
The
mean, at this
pawn,
point,
the
it's
baby pawn,
yeah. At this point, it's a bit hard
and the
to
knight.
yeah. At this point, it's a bit hard to protect both. What you could have tried there instead of king e4
Mhm.
is rook c4. But the only way you would find such
Uh,
a move is if you see that rook c2 is a threat, so that after rook d4, rook c2, you can go rook d2 to protect the pawn on b2.
I was just trying to get my king close to the black one so I can actually push my pieces up like my rook too close to the king. My thing was like king e5, then rook f6. That's what I was aiming for. Then I could have like taken the pawn. No, pawn taking was not possible. So I would have just taken the pawn on g6 with the rook. That was the plan. But now we are under attack, so I think it's not good now. So if I can just move like this,
Right, you could do that.
he's gonna take. He's gonna take the pawn.
Yeah, it's good.
Honestly, double down on this attack at this point. Apolitical is saying that. I don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully next time we can have
Mm,
the chats merged so that I can
okay,
see what
okay.
your chat is saying. But it's fine. We'll figure it out. For a first attempt, I think this is actually great. So
Yep. Now we can actually give a check to the king.
sure, go
I
for it.
don't know if that would be helpful. Maybe pushing the king is the right idea.
So
But what if he gives? No, there's a knight, so he can't play rook e4 2. So we have no threat for now. Because if he plays that, I can just take him with a knight. And he can't threaten my knight because the bishop is light squared.
Okay.
So I think this is a right idea.
Okay. I'm not sure what your plan is after king e5, but okay.
Okay. Good advice is rare, would be my coach says here. Uh,
No, Choktan, you can say whatever you
right
want.
now, right now I can check the king. I wanted to play rook f6 and take the pawn on g6, but then when I pushed my rook on f6, I think he is going to follow me. Like he would play rook g2, so this is not good.
Okay,
So I can give him a check with knight c6.
sure. Do you see what you
Okay.
could do after that? Like knight check, king goes somewhere. Do you see what your move could be after that?
I think he is going to go close to the king, so maybe like queen d7. And I can again give him a check with knight b8.
Okay, and
I have no plans. This is it.
okay,
Then I can try to put when his king is away, I can try to push the rook up on seventh rank.
okay.
Political is saying it's not hard. King, rook, knight. So we can give a checkmate. I think he's suggesting.
He's saying what?
He's saying king plus rook plus knight. Forget him. What do you say? Let's see what he moves to. There's only one place he can go to. Oh, he moved there.
Choctaw, you could say whatever you want. I might not repeat what you write because then that would be giving moves, which I don't necessarily want to do. But you could write whatever you want. No, you're fine. The chats are
Okay,
not merged, as you know.
after this one, I'll play a game and all by myself. You can just watch, and in the review, you can tell me what's wrong. Okay, and
Sure,
that's it for the day. I think you did a lot
sure.
today.
Yeah, yeah. We did a lot.
What about giving me a check?
So giving a check now doesn't really do much. What you could try, if anything, is to set up checkmate. Which you
I'll
could
set
try
up.
to do with your king. You could try to set up your king and knight in a way that it takes away some squares
What
from the.
about putting my king on d6, king d6? So he has to like move his king in the corner on the right side towards the FGH. Hmm.
You're saying king d6, so that what?
Yeah. King d6. Um, then I'll try to give a check with the rook on g8, and all the places like pieces would be close to each other. So maybe this will checkmate happen soon.
Okay, that's an idea. One idea I can give you is that if you could take away that square f7 with your knight, then if he lets you play his rook g8, that's actually checkmate.
Oh, can you repeat? Can you repeat?
Sure. By the way, if you want, you could give your opponent time because he gave you time and he has a minute left.
Okay. Okay, we were planning a check. We were planning a checkmate.
Yeah. So one idea is that instead of just giving a check, you ask yourself, if I give that check, where could it go? And then if you could take that square away, then he cannot go there, and then that check might be checkmate. So, for example, let's say we go king f6. He could
King F.
obviously. There's a whole bunch of things he could do. But let's just say. Oh,
I
okay.
was thinking the same thing actually.
Okay. So yeah. So here.
Because King F6 is protected. Like there's no direct checkmates from the rook. I think no direct checks from the black rook if king is saved by the pawn
Right. So just to be
on the
clear,
other side.
bishop covers e6. Just yes, that's correct. So just to be okay, yeah, there we go. Just to be clear, it's not forced because he could just move his king away. Now the question is, well, do you see anything your knight can do that's helpful? And just to be clear,
Yes.
if you feel like it's a lot of information, it's because it is. Usually, a lesson is going to be focused on opening or middle game or end game. Today we did all three, which is a lot of information. So you're doing great.
We can give him a check with a knight.
You could do that. Do you see any way to win some material?
Yeah. I can play knight d4 and then play knight e6 and take the pawn.
Okay. What's defending that pawn?
The rook. Oh, sorry, the bishop.
Hmm.
And he won't come up here because I can take the bishop. No, I can't take the bishop because
Very
there's
good.
a black king.
Very good. How else can the knight win material? By the way, another thing that you should definitely keep in mind here is that his h pawn is pretty close to queening. So at some point you got to do something about that. You might, in fact, you might
Mhm.
even want to try to do something about that now by bringing your rook and knight, to get that pawn. Um, so yeah, like one idea I was thinking of here is either knight b8 check to take on a6, or knight b4, which attacks a6 and the bishop, so you get a6 anyways. But probably you're better off forgetting about trying to win a pawn over there and
b8.
instead trying to get the h pawn because that's going to become a queen soon otherwise.
So d4 or b8.
What?
What do I play right now?
So, well, let's say that our plan is to try to stop the h pawn. How do we get the knight closer to the h pawn? Where could we go? What are the options?
E5.
a5, okay. And what else?
That's it.
Okay. So the two ways here would be e5 or d4. The reason e5 is probably better is because it's check, which means that you'll be able to get to the pawn faster because he first has to
Mhm.
worry about the check and then it's your move
Yeah.
again. And if you want, you could give your opponent more time.
Okay. Look. Okay, this is too long of a game.
Yeah, I could tell at some point it was going to get a bit much. Okay, I mean, if you want, you could speed up for the rest of the game, but definitely try to get rid of the h pawn if you can. It might be
How do
still
I get the
tricky, but
H? Use the rook. Use the rook. H. Rook H6.
so I'm not sure if you're saying that or if you're reading chat, but yeah, rook h6 is probably a good move. You should
No,
definitely try
I'm
to get.
saying it.
Oh, okay, excellent. Yeah, rook h6 is excellent move. You should probably get rid of the h pawn if you can. What's up, Juice?
Okay, Vortex, why do you need so much time? I'm not talking in your time. I'm talking in mine.
Okay, now you got another few pawns to worry about.
What if I trade the bishop for a knight? Mm-hmm.
You could try that. It's kind of tough, but you could try that. This lesson is pretty instructive, I think. Thank you. We try our best. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Where do you think your rook should? Oh, that's not. Okay. Yeah.
uh,
So, well, I mean, it's
that
still
was bad. If he
no.
had gone down and I would have taken him, he would have definitely still moved. No, no, no. I
So
would have
right. So
taken
rook h1 wasn't. Okay, just to be clear, I think in both cases it's lost. But rook h1 here is not so good because it allows what he just did, which is rook c2. The idea here is to go rook c1 next, and then if you
him.
take him, then the pawn can queen. You could go rook b1, which stops his pawn, and then if he goes rook c1, you can actually take the pawn. The problem is
What
that he
if we
has.
go rook b1 and then he would wonder what is happening and then we can just move at the pawn.
Say that again.
Nothing, nothing. Okay.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is pretty tough already. Instead of rook h1, you could have gone rook b3 to attack the pawn from behind instead of being on the first rank, because now you're basically stuck on the first rank. WIN, nice. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, like you could try to push your pawn to make a queen. You could try to stop his pawn with your rook, but it's tough. Wait, what did you just play?
oh,
Oh, you pushed
I
your pawn
pushed the
now.
pawn.
Oh, okay. So you first needed rook b1 because now, yeah, now it's uh now it's kind of tough. Well, I mean, okay, you could try rook h6 check and put the rook on
Okay,
b6.
okay. I think the fate is done.
You could, yeah,
I think it's time it is done.
you could play rook h6 check and then rook b6. Although he could also stop you from playing rook b6 if he plays correctly. But even if you play rook b6 and his king doesn't stop you, he could still queen, and then after you take it, his rook takes you. So then you could try to run your f pawn, but yeah, it's a little tough. But you can try. Just this is my first time here. What's the concept of the stream? Do you teach viewers? Welcome. Yes, I sometimes stream myself playing and sometimes teaching, either teaching my viewers or teaching a streamer like I'm doing now. Yeah, so here you could try to make a queen, but uh, you know, not gonna happen. You could also
Ah,
try. You could try to get
okay.
stalemate. That might happen. Maybe who knows? Miracles.
No, that I don't think so. Okay, Danny, I think I got the lessons. So maybe let's play a simple game and see if I'm doing the right thing. I think this one is not so good. Okay, this is where you resign, guys.
Oh yeah,
786.
you played excellent, Athena.